Once, in a quiet town surrounded by green hills and flowing rivers, there lived a boy named Rayhan. From the outside, his life looked perfect. He had a loving family, good friends, and enough comforts to live peacefully. But deep inside his heart, Rayhan carried a hidden restlessness. No matter what he got, it was never enough. If his father bought him new shoes, he admired them for a day, but then began to envy the brighter, more expensive shoes his friend wore. When he received a new school bag, instead of feeling proud, he stared at another boy's stylish leather bag and felt his own was worthless. Even when he scored high marks in school, his happiness lasted only until he remembered the one student who scored slightly higher. Rayhan's heart was like a bottomless well. No matter how much you poured into it, it never filled. One evening, after coming second in class, he sat quietly outside on the steps of his home. His father congratulated him warmly, but instead of smiling, Rayhan muttered under his breath, "I wish I had come first." His little sister ran to him, clapping for his achievement, but he pushed her aside in frustration. At that very moment, his best friend, Ayan, rode past on a shiny new bicycle. Rayhan's eyes followed the wheels with longing. His own bicycle stood nearby, rusty and scratched, its paint peeling, its bell broken. Suddenly, his achievement, his shoes, his books, everything he had felt worthless in front of that shining bicycle. That night, he lay in bed wide awake, staring at the ceiling. His mind repeated the same thought over and over again. I don't have enough. Others always have more than me. He couldn't sleep in peace. The next day, his father noticed his gloomy face and decided to take him to a wise traveler who had recently arrived in their town. The man was known as Baba Zafar. He was old, with a long white beard, and had traveled across villages sharing lessons of wisdom that changed people's lives. When Rayhan's father explained his son's problem, Baba Zafar looked at the boy carefully and asked gently, "Child, why are you unhappy?" Rayhan hesitated, then admitted softly, "Because I never have enough. Others always have something better than me." The old man smiled with kindness. "Come to me tomorrow morning. I will show you something." The next morning, Rayhan stood nervously before Baba Zafar. The wise man placed a large empty jar in his hands. "Hold this jar, then walk with me through the market." They walked together through the crowded streets. Rayhan's eyes wandered everywhere. The fruit stalls overflowing with colors, the toy sellers with bright kites, the perfume vendors filling the air with fragrance. Every corner they passed tempted him. "Each time you feel you want something," Baba Zafar instructed, "drop a pebble into the jar." At first, Rayhan resisted, but soon, as he longed for the toys, the sweets, the clothes, the shining gadgets, the pebbles dropped one by one. By the time they returned from the market, the jar was almost full and heavy in his hands. Baba Zafar looked at him and asked, "Why is the jar so heavy?" Rayhan answered honestly, "Because I kept wanting everything I saw." The old man nodded with wisdom. "Do you see now? Your heart is like this jar. It is not heavy because of what you already have. It is heavy because of what you keep desiring. Wanting more is not wrong, child, but when your heart forgets how to be happy with what is already in your hands, you will never rest. Even if I gave you the whole world, you would still cry for the stars." Those words pierced Rayhan deeply. For the first time, he realized how restless he had become. Baba Zafar gave him a simple task. Every night, before you sleep, write down 3 things you already have that make you lucky. Do this for 40 days without fail. Gratitude will teach your heart what greed has hidden. Rayhan returned home doubtful. That night, he opened a notebook and wrote lazily, "My parents, my house, my books." It felt silly at first, but the next day he added, "My sister's smile, the old cycle I ride, the food my mother cooks." As days turned into weeks, his list grew. He noticed little things he had ignored before: the comfort of his warm blanket on cold nights, the laughter of his friends during lunch breaks, the kindness of a teacher who explained a tough lesson twice, the golden glow of the sunrise after dawn. Slowly, his heart began to feel lighter. One afternoon, something happened that changed him forever. As Rayhan was riding his old cycle, he passed by a small house. Outside, a boy sat on a wooden cart. His legs were thin and lifeless. He could not walk. Yet his face glowed with joy as he played with a simple paper ball, clapping and laughing. Rayhan stopped and stared. He looked down at his own legs, strong and able. He touched his rusty bicycle. For the first time, he whispered, "I have everything this boy dreams of, and yet I waste my days wishing for more." Tears welled up in his eyes. That single moment shifted something deep inside him. From that day, Rayhan changed. He still had dreams, but now he celebrated what he already had. Instead of being ashamed of his old bicycle, he cleaned it, polished it, and rode it proudly. Instead of crying over second position, he smiled and celebrated the fact that he had improved from the last year. His friends noticed his smile more often. His teachers noticed his calm confidence. His parents felt peace, seeing their son finally learning contentment. Rayhan discovered a secret. Gratitude doesn't kill ambition. It gives it wings. Gratitude doesn't stop you from dreaming. It simply allows you to enjoy the journey while you dream. Months later, an inter-school exam was announced. Rayhan joined eagerly. The questions were tough, and many students panicked, comparing themselves to each other. But Rayhan stayed calm. He remembered Baba Zafar's words, "Don't cry for the stars when you already have the moon." He focused only on his own paper, one question at a time. When the results were declared, he didn't come first. He came third. But for the first time in his life, he felt no jealousy, no bitterness. He stood up, clapped for the winner, hugged his friends, and smiled at his own achievement. His father's eyes shone with pride, not because of the rank, but because his son had finally learned to be truly happy. Later, when Rayhan met Baba Zafar, the old man asked, "So, what did you learn, child?" Rayhan bowed his head and said, "I learned that happiness is not in having everything, but in being grateful for what I already have. I can still dream for more, but I will not let those dreams steal the joy of today." Baba Zafar smiled. "Then your jar is no longer heavy with pebbles of desire. It is now filled with light." And from that day forward, Rayhan carried this wisdom with him wherever he went. Whenever life tempted him to compare, whenever he felt restless for more, he remembered the boy on the wooden cart, the heavy jar of pebbles, and his nightly gratitude list. He discovered that the richest person in the world is not the one who owns the most, but the one who is happiest with what he already has. If this story touched your heart even a little, take a moment right now. Look around you. See your family, your health, your breath, your comforts. Write down 3 things you are grateful for today. Don't wait for tomorrow to be happy. Happiness is not in more. Happiness is in now. Be happy with what you have, and life will give you even more to smile about.